Welcome once again to Mary's School of Prophecy. I'm your host, William Tapley, also known as the Third Eagle of the Apocalypse and the co-prophet of these end times. And I think I have a fairly interesting program today. I'm going to talk about Dana Coverstone's Jets 2022 dream and Amanda Freitas' dream about the three bears. And this will be part 2. And the reason I'm doing this, of course, is because there is a lot of controversy about my first program in which I said Russia would not invade Ukraine. Well, as it turned out, that was only partially true. And, of course, as you know, Russia has been invaded by Ukraine, and at least according to the news reports. Now, if you go to the Kiev Capitol Live, they have a live stream from Ukraine. It looks pretty quiet. There are cars driving around just like normal most of the day. I checked in every now and then. The Ukrainian president said that the big onslaught will be tonight, and that may be, so we'll see. I think that Putin has bit off maybe more than he can chew. In any event, that's not what we're going to be concerned about here. By the way, you've got 401k commenting, and for you moderators, please do not block 401k, because I actually invited him to come on here because he's been commenting on my other videos and he has quite a few interesting interpretations about what's going on. I don't agree with him, but it makes for a more interesting program if you don't agree with everybody. And really, it's kind of, he has some interesting. In fact, I'd like to have you read what he says and see what you think, and maybe you can help me confound him. In any event, thanks 401k for joining us today, because I do look forward to what you're saying, but don't expect me to agree with you. In any event, so that's a note for you moderators. Don't ban 401k. And if people want to comment during the program, let them. Because this is not like the rosary. And a lot of times people have ideas when they're listening to the program, and they want to express themselves right away. So let them comment during the program. That's okay. It's not like we're praying the rosary. Now, I thought we've only got 28 people here on board right now. I thought I'd get the housekeeping out of the way first, and that'll kill another minute or two, and then and maybe more people will get on board, and then I can go right to the chat after the program, after I go over the two dreams. If you would like to contact me at William Tapley, Post Office Box 291, Osage, Iowa 50461. And if you would like to order my books, The Holy Spirit Guide to End Times Prophecy, there are 4 volumes. Go to my website, thirdeaglemedia.com. Click on the newsletter tab, and under the July newsletter tab, there is an order form. If you want to order them right away, go to the donate button, and there's a PayPal link. Click on that. And this is information you cannot get anywhere else. There are 4 volumes, and if you want to read them ahead of time, that's no problem, because they are printed in their entirety under the transcript tab. Okay, so let's take a look at this. These 2 dreams of Amanda and Dana, and did I get them wrong or did I get them right? So I'll let you decide. And I'm beginning to think that I was actually mostly right, but you know, we can talk about it and see what you think. Let me get my screen here in good position so I can. Okay, now I hope I have this right, people. As you know, I am the engineer of this program as well as the host. So what I had predicted was that Mary would prevent the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. And in fact, I told you that would become obvious on February the 15th. And I got that date from Dana Coverstone's dream. And everybody at that time, remember, this was actually a week before the invasion. Well, I did it a couple of days, but Dana Coverstone's dream was published, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time. And everybody said I was crazy. Oh, Biden was out there every day saying the invasion is imminent. The military was saying invasion is imminent. In fact, I'm going to show you. Here's, I don't have the Drudge headline. Drudge was beating the drums. Everybody was beating the drums of war, and I think they do want war. I think the The deep state definitely wants war. Biden wants war to take attention off of his failed policies in every respect. I mean, the economy, inflation, the lack of a border wall. He wants attention taken away from that. So, what happened? How come? Well, let me show you what did happen. This was February 15th. You remember the de-escalation. So now this was the headline. After all that talk, this is the headline from Drudge. This was February the 15th, the exact date I had said. Here's his headline: De-escalation. Russia pulls troops. Moscow ready for talks. Putin plays peacemaker. Remember all that? And that was happening. Russia was pulling back. And of course I said, well, Dana's dream is being fulfilled to the letter, to the date, to the hour. Well, maybe not the hour, but to the date, February 15th. And Sandra Levine said that that day when I announced that, I took my victory, what was it she said? My victory run, my victory lap. I took a victory lap. Well, then, of course, how long after that, it completely turned around and Russia did invade Ukraine. And the first images looked like it was a false flag, but now it looks like it's pretty real, although I haven't seen any real activity yet. And so what happened? What caused Putin to suddenly change his mind? Oh, here's what they said. Here's the Russian press release. I got to read this for you. I've read this before. Kremlin officials seized upon the troop withdrawal as proof of a propaganda victory against the United States and NATO. Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said 15 February 2022 will go down in history as the day Western war propaganda failed. She wrote, adding that the West had been shamed and destroyed without firing a single shot. The White House's national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, had breathtakingly told CNN on Sunday that intelligence suggested military action could begin any day now. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky had also declared that February the 16th, the day the Biden administration claimed Russia was planning to invade, would be a national day of unity. Well, they did not invade on the 16th. As I said, they pulled back on the 15th, just as I had predicted and as Dana had indicated in his dream. So, what is it? What caused Putin to suddenly change his mind in reverse direction and go through with the invasion? I got a feeling that somebody with authority, maybe Biden, told him that Ukraine would be joining NATO. I'm sure that is what happened. If anybody else has any other ideas, let me know. So, of course, as I say, 2 or 3 days later, Russia turned around, the troops and the tanks and everything invaded Ukraine, just as it had been indicated before. And people started pointing fingers at me and saying I was a false prophet. And I admit I was a little nervous. I said, what is going on? Well, I think I figured out the problem. And I think the problem was I thought that Dana's dream and Amanda's dream were contemporary. Now I realize that Dana's dream was to set the chronology, and it was not necessarily, those events did not occur at the same time. They were not expressing the same event. They were expressing subsequent events. In other words, Amanda's dream of the first bear, which was actually her third part of the dream, the first bear comes after the wall which prevented the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, which I call Mary's Wall, and I'll show you in a minute why. I'm sure most of you will remember. So let's look at, I'm going to start with Dana's dream, and we'll go through this, and I've been through this, of course, with you before. Some of it. I've edited this down just to refresh everybody's memory, and I think you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, I have to, excuse me while I kind of adjust this around my screen so I can see what I'm doing. I have to kind of remember what I'm doing every time because I do the rosary, of course, as you know, every day, and it's a little different, technologically speaking. So let me see if I've got this set up right. Okay, I think this is. So this is, I'm going to start with the vision that Dana had, which is actually the third part of the prophecy that he gave, but it's actually the first event. So let's review what Dana had prophesied for February the 15th. I began to walk and pace in the living room, and I was walking and pacing about 2:15 a.m. I had a vision. I was stopped in my tracks, and I saw a vision. And in that vision, I was standing on the boundary of Ukraine and Russia, and I saw a large boiling pot right on the border. It didn't take up the whole border, but just right smack dab in the center of the border point between Russia and Ukraine. And I saw this huge boiling pot, and I'm going to call it a cauldron. Okay, well, so far, very accurate. February the 15th, there was a lot of boiling going on between Russia and Ukraine. A lot of talk, a lot of rumors of war all over the place. And Dana was right, and my interpretation was correct. So now let's look at the next slide I've got here. Next part of Dana's dream. And I saw soldiers on both sides of that cauldron. They were tossing up blocks and bricks and pieces of what looked like tree limbs in large black bags. And the different sides were not engaged with each other. There was no war going on. Nobody had guns or weapons or missiles or anything. They were just taking stuff and throwing it up in the pots from both sides. Well, and of course I interpreted that as saying that there will be no war on February the 15th. And no invasion. And people said I was crazy. Of course there's going to be invasion. All you have to do is look at the headlines. But suddenly, on February the 15th, just as Dana said, he looked at his watch, remember? 2:15 in the morning, and I interpreted that as February the 15th. There were no guns, no missiles, no shooting, none of that. And that's what I reported on. And sure enough, there was a de-escalation, as Drudge said there. The Russians pulled back. The Russian spokeswoman said that the West had egg on its face because they were predicting a war and there wouldn't be any war. And of course, something happened to change that. So let's look at the next slide of part of Dana's dream. And I was looking at the wall facing Russia, looking at it from the west to the east. And that sentinel on the heart monitor went from Estonia to Georgia. It was all the way north to south from where the wall was now. And it started in the middle of Ukraine and Russia. And when the night came, you could see that pulse on the western side because as it got darker, you could see the pulse. And brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter. It was like a heart monitor. And as I has explained, this was indicative that this wall between Russia and Ukraine was erected by Mary and the Rosary. And I said that the heart monitor symbolizes the Immaculate Heart of Mary. The pulsing, the light on it as a reference to Our Lady of Fatima, where she said that in the end, my Immaculate Heart will triumph, Russia will be converted, an era of peace will be granted to mankind. And I said, well, this is the start of the peace. And of course, I was mistaken. But it did tell what was going on February the 15th. And of course, 15 is a rosary number, February 15th. That verified it in my mind that this was Mary's doing, and I think it was. And I think it was our prayers that was bringing it about. And I think prayer is going to be the answer ultimately. But the turnaround of events was certainly quite stunning. So now let me look at the last part of this, of Dana's vision, which I'm going to give you. And there were lights also that were about 500 feet above those walls. And there were fixed poles that covered the top of that wall with light. And they also revealed about 50 feet up all along that wall. There were guard turrets, and there were 2 guards, each one facing a different way, one facing east and one facing west, with their backs right up next to one another. And in my spirit I heard the words that a new Cold War is upon us, and that cyber will be the new cipher. So now that this is a cyber war, well, I think that's exactly what's happening right now. And I thought it would be strictly a cyber war. And the wall was, remember, it was cold, ice cold. In other words, a Cold War. And I think a Drudge headline, I don't think it was that headline, but he mentioned that this is going to be a Cold War. But now it's a hot war. And as I say, this was Mary's wall, not only because of the Immaculate Heart, because the lights were 500 feet high, the turrets were 50 feet high, and Dana repeated the word brightly 5 times, referring to the wall. That's 555, and that's Mary's number in Bible prophecy. 555 is a number that will defeat 666, and it all made sense to me. But as you know, I think the mistake was that I assumed that Amanda's dream correlated exactly to this, and that was my mistake. In other words, this wall was breached very shortly afterwards. 3 or 4 days, was it? So now let's look at Amanda Freitas' dream. And I want to show you her picture. I've showed you her picture before. And the reason I show her picture, well, it's an attractive face anyway. But in the dream that she had, the Lord told her that she represented the church. Now, in the book of Revelation, the woman in the book of Revelation symbolizes both Mary and the church. So I believe that Amanda is in her dream, she represents both the church and Mary. And she has a crown on. I would call that a crown. I mean, technically it's not a crown. Of course, she has a lot of makeup on, but still, she's quite attractive. I would say she looks... If you were going to wanted an actress to play Mary, I think this would be a good person. Anyway, so let's take a look at Amanda's dream, and we'll see that. Let me show the chart first. I do have this program organized, although you may not realize it. Now, I showed you this chart last time. I had Dana's vision, dream and vision. It was broken down into the vision part of 2:15, which we just read. Following that is March 22, in other words, March of this year, and then September of this year. And of course, these were not in this order in his dream, but it had to be rearranged. This is typical of end times prophecy. For it to be in chronological order is unusual. The usual thing is to change the chronology. So that's what it is. This has been corrected. And that means that Amanda's bear, the third bear comes first. The first bear comes second. The second bear comes third. Now, my mistake was in saying that these two occur at the same time. They're describing the same event. That's my mistake. The third bear comes after the February 15th vision. And in fact, I think you continue, and I am not going to go into this, but I think that you go all the way through this. In other words, first the vision, then the third bear, then the March 22nd part of Dana's dream, then the first bear, then September, and the second bear. And now I'm sure as we go along, I will go over those. Because I think they're all going to come true. And just because I misinterpreted part of it, I don't take that away from either Dana. It's amazing that 2 different prophets receive prophecy that must be joined together. And that's how you interpret them. Not that it's totally unique. You do the same thing with Isaiah 45 and Micah 5. Okay, so now let's take a look at Amanda's dream, and I've got this arranged here, I hope, so you can. Well, I'm editing these dreams, so just going over through the part that's going on right now. When I opened the door of the shed, instead of being a regular shed, it is not a regular shed. It's way bigger. And instead of a floor, there's a hole, a very deep hole. And between the entrance and the back of the shed, there is a plank. And this plank is like a bridge. So I start to crawl on my hands and feet, trying to pass to the other side. And my husband is right behind me. When I go to the middle, and I'm right in the middle of the passage, this huge bear shows up in front of me. Now, the Lord told Amanda that the bear in this dream is Russia. So this image of this bear is the current Russia. Russia, in other words, this is the bear following February 15th. This is what we have now, and the bear is threatening Amanda. So we'll see how Amanda deals with this. There are 3 manifestations of the bear, as you know, in Amanda's dream. And this was the 3rd one, but it actually comes first. So let's look at the next slide I have of Amanda's dream. And it was that I saw and understood that's not a regular bear, because this bear in particular had the face of an old man. He had the face of an old man, and he spoke like a man. And he was saying, "Oh, I'm going to get you." And he was saying like it in a very lascivious way. You know, like he was going to attack me physically, sensually, if you get what I'm saying. When he says that, I said, "What?" And then the bear said, looking straight at me, and said, "I don't want anything to do with you, lady." He called me lady and everything. So this bear, this manifestation of Russia, which I believe is what we see right now, has the face of an old man. Well, the old man, I'm sure, refers to Satan. He's referred to as old in the Bible. And it means that this operation of Russia going into Ukraine is directed by Satan. Well, of course, when I first interpreted this, I was under the illusion, or misinterpretation, I guess you could say, that this was Russia before the wall, and that the wall frustrated this particular bear. But now I realize that this part of Amanda's dream comes immediately after the wall, and after the Mary's wall has been breached, and this is Satan now threatening Amanda. And we'll find out that Amanda knows how to handle this bear. Let me look at the next slide. "I don't want anything to do with you, lady. I'm going to get him." And him was my husband, who was right behind me. And immediately I thought of Sodom and Gomorrah, where the angels were hidden in Lot's house. And Lot was like, "Can you guys stop?" And the guys there wanted the person behind Lot, and that was an angel. And then when he said this, I said, "Well, I didn't say anything. I just did this. Not even a slap. I just touched him. And when I did this and I touched him, he lost his balance and he fell through the cracks on each side of the plank, and he fell." So this is very interesting. Now, I thought this is where I got mixed up. I thought this falling of the bear referred to being frustrated by the wall. And I thought the wall would last much longer than it did, but it didn't. But now this bear, which is now attacking Ukraine, is going to fall into this huge pit. And Amanda is just going to give him a light slap. Now, Amanda, as I said, at least as the Lord told Amanda, that she represented the church. So, does this mean that the church is going to stop this invasion? In fact, that's why I prayed this morning for the church, the remnant church, to pray to stop the bear invading Ukraine. And 401k did leave me a couple of comments, and I think on that video, in which he disagreed. And I won't steal his thunder. I'll let him say what he wants to say. So Amanda is saying that this defeat of the bear will be very easy for the church. It's like knocking a person over with a feather. And so now I think my interpretation is correct. This part of Amanda's dream does not chronologically does not occur at the same time as Dana's vision. In fact, it comes shortly thereafter. So I admit hindsight is 20/20. So I'm not going to take credit for this, but I am explaining what's happening now. At least I'm up to date. So now let me try the next slide. Let me see here. Excuse me a minute. What did I do? Well, we looked at 3 already. All right. This is Amanda, the 4th slide. When he was falling, my husband, who was cool as a cucumber, like nothing's happening, my husband is an American, by the way, and he tells me, well, sometimes you just need to do a little push, and then gravity does the rest. And it's going to be a fast and quick death. And I'm like, I just look at him. He just said that to me. Then I close the door of the shed, and I start to peek through the door like I'm spying, and I'm just peeking through the door and looking outside in my garden, my backyard. So I don't want to get into what she sees out the backyard. It's very interesting. What she sees is the 4th and final beast. She sees a stage going on, being built, and that actually comes at the end of all of her bears. And at the end of Dana's dream, I don't think it's, if I remember correctly, I don't think he gets into the 4th and final beast, but Amanda's dream does. I'm not covering everything in Dana's dream on this program. I'm not covering, for example, my theory that in March part of the dream, that will likely involve invasion of Israel, and I base that on the fact that Dana had his dream 13 days in a row, and that the only time, or the most prominent time the number 13 is found in the Bible is found in the book of Esther. I'm not sure about that. I'm not going to predict that 100%, but I think it's very likely. And so her husband, Amanda's husband, his comment on the whole thing is that, sometimes gravity takes over. You just start the push and gravity takes over. And I think that's a comment that all the church has to do is just start praying, and God will do the rest. I'm sure that's by the way, did you see where Pope Francis went to the Russian embassy? I think he was thinking that he was going to bring peace. Doesn't he know that he has the power to bring peace? Well, actually, I don't know if he does, but the Pope Benedict would. Pope Benedict has the power to bring peace. In fact, any of the popes since Pope John, was it? I think, had the power to consecrate Russia to the Immaculate Heart. And Mary said that would convert Russia. That would save the world. So that's why I'm always a little, what would you say? It's ironic to me to have the Pope go to visit the Russian embassy in Rome to try to stop this invasion. No, maybe it'll work. Maybe he'll do it. Maybe I shouldn't say anything. Who knows? But according to Amanda's dream, it's the prayers of the church that will stop this invasion. At least that's my interpretation this time. I hope I don't have to come back in a week or so and change it all again. Anyway, let's go through what everybody. Just a minute. Excuse me. I have to I have to arrange my screen now to look at the chat. And I hope some of you would like to talk about this. Oh, quite a bit of chat. Well, that's what I want to talk about. So Mike Harrington checks in from Gulfport, Mississippi. And Mike says, I still say Obama is the Antichrist. Could it be the Pope? Well, the Pope can't be the Antichrist, no. But he is the false prophet. And they're two different beasts. They're not the same beast. But it's interesting you say that Obama is the Antichrist. There's a channel I would like all of you to mention. And I mentioned this morning. And there's this young lady I believe she's from Ghana. And she's a member of Heart Dwellers. And her channel is called From Russia. Excuse me. From Jesus with Love. I saw that in my mind, said From Russia with Love. Was that a Beatles song or a movie or something? Or a James Bond movie? Anyway, From Jesus with Love. Check out her channel. because she has a completely different take on this. And she says the Lord told her that Obama is the Antichrist, which I've never thought that. I know he's the leopard in Daniel 7. Okay, Adam and Nancy check in. So does Alyssa Moulton. Okay, here's 401k now. I want to talk about what 401k says. I know we've had our differences of opinion previously. Anyway, he says Russia will fall. The Holy Rosary is working. Oh, good. Well, that's exactly what we're praying for. You can see, but the Lord can see further, and he knows exactly what he is doing. I have no fear of World War III because the Lord right now will not make it happen. Well, I think that's true. Okay, just Jackie's Helios here. Hi, friends. Excited to hear Mr. T's Decode. Fascinating times we're living in. Mike Pope is the false prophet. Not sure who yet is the Antichrist, but I feel maybe George, you know who, or one of his type. Well, all the 10 kings of the Antichrist who are in place right now, they all would like to be the Antichrist. And that includes Biden, believe it or not. Biden, Trudeau. I think Trudeau is a good candidate for the Antichrist. All the 10 kings would like to move up to be the top of the ladder. Right now, they are all sons of Haman. That is, they are all kings of the Antichrist. Remember, the Antichrist kingdom, the beast, has 10 horns. That refers to all the world's leaders will support the Antichrist. Roses for BVM checks in. So does Tina Sislo, Ken Brown, Karen Herrera. Tony says, why do you think the Lord will not make or allow this to happen right now? And he's asking that of 401k. So there you go, 401k. Tina Sislo says, I wasn't thinking of blocking him. Okay, well, I just wanted to make sure. Tina says, welcome, Ken Brown. 401k says, what a miracle, I'm not banned. Well, I never said you didn't have a sense of humor, 401k. Maybe we can start getting along, because I'm interested in your theories. I hope you publish them on here. If you don't, I'm going to have to tell them what you said. Tina says, please like and share. Okay. Patricia Ham, I think you're new on here, Patricia, so welcome aboard. Hello, please pray for the United States or for us and for peace around the world. Uncle Jalapeno says, America is only a little over 300 years old, and we have been involved in over 10 major wars. You have to ask why. Well, okay, Uncle Jalapeno, that's a good question. In the book of Revelation, the harlot, the whore of Babylon, remember, is dressed in purple and scarlet. That represents the two countries, Britain and America. She is dressed in purple. That represents Britain and the royal monarchy. She is dressed in scarlet because that recommends the bloodshed of America. As you say, as you have noted, we have a bloody history. And that reminds me, this channel, From Jesus with Love, the lady from Ghana, she says that Chicago, and I was thinking about this because there's all kinds of bloodshed in Chicago right now. She says that Chicago has been specifically targeted by demons at this time. And the homicide rate in that city is going through the roof. Sam is here, Pieta's Rosary. Don't forget, Sam has a live stream rosary, let's see, an hour from now? A little over an hour from now. On D-Live. Let's see. Tony says, some say it's a false, you know what. Tony's learning how to speak YouTubeese so we can get by the censors. With crisis, you know what's acting like they're in danger. Well, there's an awful lot of falseness about this whole invasion. I mean, if we were to find out that the whole thing was theater, I would not be surprised. I mean, just about all of the scenes we've seen so far could be photoshopped. I'm not saying it is, but it could be. I mean, what do we know? I mean, we're sitting here in front of our computers, and about the only thing you know is what's coming across the screen. And we know from past history that everything the media is telling you is a lie. So, and it says, a lot of prayers today. Very sad. Uncle Jalapeno says, I think Americans' involvement in this Russia hoax is to make Biden look tough. The tail is wagging the dog. I thought of that also, Uncle Jalapeno. Just what you say, I think is very possible. But that's why the deep state wants it. They've got to prop up their loser of a president. Patricia Ham says, the Lord did say we will hear about wars. And there will be a lot of wars, famines, pestilence, as signs we are in the end of times, and God is coming. We must pray always without ceasing. Thanks, Patricia. And Tina says, amen. 401k says, pray more, talk, but also talk less. You are correct. Oh, pray more, talk less. Gotcha. In my opinion, India isn't to be trusted. The new Cold War would not involve Russia, but China. Russia, after this incursion, is done. Okay, well, that's interesting. 401k. I'm glad you're here. Alexa Rupert says, what if 2:15 USA time points to the time in Ukraine? And that's why this is happening now. Maybe after the fall, we will see a truce between these nations. And I thought of that. In other words, 2:15, Ukraine is 9 hours ahead of us. In other words, 11:15 or November the 15th, that's when there would be a truce, and Mary will bring a wall. I thought of that, and I don't think that's right because of the way the bears, the sequence of the bears in Amanda's dream. If you read the bears in the same order, chronological order as Dana gives us as 2:15, being February 15th, you'll find that it makes a lot of sense. But I'm glad you mentioned that because that is a possibility. 401k says, beware of China and India. Joyce Adcock is here. Sam says, hey, 401k, what happened to that pink background you used to use on your profile? I don't know. I don't remember his other profile. April says, they are saying Putin has had a personality change. Well, that's interesting. I haven't heard that, April. Thanks for that. 401k says, 2 p.m. Didn't Tapley tell you I had a legion? Well, you said you had a legion, 401k. I asked you how many channels you had on YouTube, and you said legions. A legion. That's what you said. That's where I got it from. Let's see, where am I here? Oh my goodness, would you believe the chat already took off? How much chat is there? I'm going to cut this program off long before the hour is up. Okay. Boot says, I greet all. It is 43 minutes past midnight here in Abuja, Nigeria. Thanks, Boot. Today is my birthday. Well, happy birthday, Boot. Boot Resources has a birthday. Well, thanks for. By the way, this African lady you might be interested in? She's not from Nigeria. She's from Ghana. I think she's from Ghana. From Jesus with Love. Let me get the name of that. She also has a channel called Heart Dwellers Ghana. Sam says, love to Nigeria and all. Thank you, Boot. Gus Salazar says, by the way, things are playing out. I think the covert plan was to cripple Russia with big sanctions. Yeah, who's paying for these sanctions? We're supposed to put sanctions on Russia, but Biden's already told us who's going to suffer. We're going to suffer. What kind of sanctions are those? That's part of the plan, too. Let me see here. With knowledge that they would act like when Crimea. Now, Putin has a rotten egg all over. Sam says, love to you, and happy birthday, my friend. Join me in thanking God for sound health of body and mind. Soul, says Boot. 401k says, there will be no World War III. I stand by my words. You shall see that my words through God will come to pass. Well, you've got to do more than that. You've got to give us a little extra. Now, why do you say that, 401k? Don't just say that. I agree that maybe World War III in our previous interpretations of what a world war is, yeah, we may not have a World War III like that. But I do know America's going to be burned with fire in 1 hour. That's in the prophecy. And I've said that's very likely a nuclear attack, just like Dmitry Duduman said. Well, of course, it isn't just Russia that has. Even if Russia is depleted by going into Ukraine, they're not depleting any of their missiles or any of their ICBMs or nuclear weapons or nuclear submarines. None of that is being depleted. And that's how they would attack the United States. Okay, Sky Rose Smith is here. Boot Resources. Tina says, not only that, Mr. T, we have to do the 5 first Saturdays also. That's to protect ourselves. We have to pray Mary's Rosary, all 4 mysteries every day, hopefully, and you have to wear the scapular. If we want to be protected, if there is a nuclear exchange, and there's so many countries that have nuclear weapons now, North Korea, Iran, Communist China, of course. Let's see. Carolyn Couch says, Satan dressed in white asking for peace. Francis, he claims he's the bishop dressed in white. Pieta Rosary, Giuseppe says full mass and adoration today. April Gardner says, within the last 48 hours, 1/3 of the global wheat supply from Ukraine and Russia was routed to China. Wow, I didn't hear that. We have to seriously prepare. Ukraine was always described as the breadbasket of Russia. So, are you saying that this is a result of Russian invasion of Ukraine, that they are rerouting the wheat to China? Is that what you're saying? I don't quite understand that. Uncle Jalapeno says the Pope has 0 power to convert Russia. The body of Christ has the power through prayer to bring change to the world. Well, like it or not, Uncle Jalapeno, the Pope is the leader of the body of Christ. That's why Jesus said, thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. So I'm sure you know your Bible, Uncle, but I'm not going to get into that today because we're talking about something else. Tina Sissel says, Amen, April. Thank God for Argentina and her wheat. Well, we have a lot of wheat in this country. They have a lot of food. I live out in Iowa, and it's beautiful in the summertime to travel around and watch all the corn and the soybeans growing. Boy, they had a good growing season last year. Sky Rose Smith checks in. Carolyn says, Mr. T is a tough professor. He's asking for 4 rosaries per day. The Blessed Mother only asks for 1. Well, a lot of people think that a rosary is not just one mystery. A complete rosary is all 4 mysteries. That's a complete rosary. So when Mary asks us to pray the rosary, a lot of people interpret that as meaning all 4 mysteries. So I'm not really asking for something that's unusual. Okay, Tony says, also, thank you for praying for us. My mom still has the side effect from this, more than me, like a sore throat, headache, and she says that she can't taste the food that much, and that worries her. Well, that's a sure sign of, you-know-what, the pandemic. 401k says to Carolyn Couch, 4 rosaries a day is tough. May God bless those who can accomplish that. Well, 401k, you're being very mellow. You've changed quite a bit since you were on here. Did you loan your phone out to somebody else? I shouldn't be tough like that. I should be more kind. So you're doing great, 401k. I'm glad you're here. Tina says, Carolyn, sorry, this mandate of the complete rosary comes from our Heavenly Mother. And I agree with you, Tina. I think we should say all 4 mysteries. Oh, dear. Now, the chat just took off again. Oh, my goodness. I hate it when the chat takes off and I have to try and find out where I was. Let's see. Fake person. Who's fake person? I think you're new on here, Fake. Fakey? Do you have a nickname, Fakey? Fakey person says, Mr. T, have you seen the Ark of Grace Ministries, Amanda Grace, and watch her video on what she says? I watched some of her latest video, and she is long-winded, over an hour. I couldn't watch the whole thing. I much prefer, actually, Heart Dwellers, Mother Claire is over-winded too. But I much prefer her. But I admit, I have not really watched the whole program. Maybe I would become a big fan if I watched the whole program. Today somebody recommended her latest video to me, and I started watching. I said, I can't do this. I got to do my own program. Carolyn says, Couch says, some people are still working on 4 and is too many, especially if they have a spouse or kids. Well, I'm not saying it's easy. And when I was younger, I didn't say all 4 mysteries. In fact, I was lucky if I said 1 mystery a day. So I'm almost 83. In April, I'll be 83. And people say, well, you don't have a job, Tapley. It's easy for you. And in a way, it is easy. I have very few obligations. Let's see. 401k says, I challenge anyone who can pray 4 rosaries a day for 9 days. For those of you who don't know, 401k actually had a live stream rosary. That's how I got to meet him. And he would do all 3. He would do 3 mysteries. I don't think he did all 4. He would do 3 mysteries all at the same time, which I thought was a little much. But I told him that. I invited him to become a member of our WFRN family. And I still think he would be a good member. Sam says, sorry, Tony, praying that your mom and family get better. It will get better. Tina says, it's easy, 401k. You don't need to challenge anyone. Don't let the devil invade. Tony says, and they want us to hate you. Know who starts with a P, so we can start a war and make it 10 times worse. Well, there's something to that, Tony. There's no doubt the deep state would want the United States to get involved. They want World War. That's why I say we have to pray more and more. I've gotten in the habit of saying 4 rosaries a day, and a lot of it is a habit. And I have a certain time of the day, and practically I do it at the same time, just about every time. I say 1 before the morning rosary. Now, I do that for one thing is to clear my throat, because it used to be really bad in the morning. I would have such a raspy voice, and I found that I prayed a whole rosary out loud before the morning rosary that improved my voice. In fact, I said a whole rosary before this program for the same reason. My voice is still not 100%, which reminds me I ought to take a pill. Joyce Adcock sent me a whole bunch of pills. Let's see. Carolyn says, quality over quantity any day. Rambling prayers don't count. No, I agree with that. If that's the only kind of prayer you know how to say is a rambling prayer, don't say it. Tina says, above rosaries is actually a very beautiful idea, 401k. Want to join us? Yeah, 401k ought to join us. 401k, if you wanted to start a live stream rosary, do it every day at the same time, but I would recommend only 1 mystery. You can join our WFRN network. 401k says to Tina, speak for yourself. Have you ever said 4 rosaries a day for 9 days straight? I call your bluff on that. It's extremely difficult. If you're a busy person, it's difficult. But as things get worse, more and more people are going to realize that's what we have to do. We fly into the desert on the wings of an eagle. Remember that. Joyce says, I believe some of the news clips are phony. The news said there were protesters in St. Petersburg Square, but it is cold there. And there's no coal smoke coming from the mouths of the protesters. Well, that's an interesting observation, Joyce. Yeah, they could trot out protesters from any place in the world, and how would we know? We wouldn't know any different. Sam says, thank you for the decode, Mr. Tapley. Well, I'm glad you were here, Sam. Carolyn says, America won't repent because they don't think they're doing anything wrong. Just keep waving that flag. Well, I have nothing wrong with waving the flag. I saw the truckers. Did you see the truckers? Oh, by the way, this site, From Jesus with Love, this lady from Ghana, who's a member of the Third Order, she says the Lord is pleased with the truckers and with patriotism. Let's see. Tina says, yes, I have, and no, it is not difficult. I have actually said 2 complete rosaries. By this, I mean 4 mysteries each. That would be 8. Well, you sound like my sister. My sister's, I don't know if she does it every day or not, but it's nothing for her to say 8 mysteries. And Tina says, and actually for longer than 9 days straight. Okay, I think you will testify that it's wonderful for your own peace of mind. 401 says, no, Rosa says 2 401. It is entirely possible, depending on one's commitment and status in life. My 84-year-old mother wakes up every morning at 2 or 3 a.m. to pray. And she does all 4 plus other prayers every day. Well, as you get closer to the end, and those of us who are in the 80s, I think, are more aware of that than a lot of other people, you begin to think that, maybe I should pay attention to my Lord and God a little more than I do. Certainly more than, let's say, baseball or football. I did not watch the Super Bowl or any part of it this year, and I don't intend to. And now the chat took off on me again. I don't know if I'm going to get to all this chat. Okay. 401k says, did you know that Ukraine at one time was the 3rd most powerful country? They had over 9,000 nuclear weapons after the fall of the Soviet Union. I don't think they made their own nuclear weapons. I think they were part of Russia at that time, weren't they? Part of the Soviet Union? It's just like we have nuclear weapons in Turkey. Can you imagine that? That is so stupid. Of course, we don't have a president who would bring them back, but Trump should have. Curbstop says, so Curbstop, I think you're new down here, so welcome aboard. And he asks, are the ribs countries? Yes, they are, Curbstop. The bear is told to arise and devour much flesh. And I have taught for many, many years here on YouTube that the 3 ribs represent the 3 beasts. And the 3 beasts are the lioness, the bear, and the leopard. The lioness is Britain, the leopard is America, and the bear is Russia itself. In other words, the bear is going to eat much flesh in all 3 countries. The war between the ram and the goat, in other words, between Russia and Britain and America, all horns are broken. And that's exactly what the Antichrist wants. The Antichrist in Daniel is told to, how does he say it? Destroys 3, I forgot exactly how it's stated in Daniel, but there are 3 countries that he destroys. That's because he wants to be the sole he wants his own one world government to be the sole superpower. And he brings down, that's it. He brings down 3 kings. That's what the Antichrist does. Tina says, not to protect ourselves, Mr. T. I'm referring to what the Virgin has asked to stop the spread of Russia's ideas. Oh, okay. Well, Mary said that at Fatima. And wherever Mary appears, Mary is the number 1 prophet of these end times. All you have to do is look at the Fatima prophecy, and they are being played out before our eyes. And when was the last time your bishop or your priest talked about the Fatima prophecy or the La Salette prophecies? Roses for BVM says, I don't expect everyone to be able, but sometimes it's possible to do more by sacrificing something else, like foregoing TV programs, praying while driving. Yeah, I do that. Curb says that Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe. Yeah, I think, I haven't heard about that, but I think you're right. Tina says, what are you talking about, Curb? Curb says, thumbnail pick. Oh, okay. Tina says, Argentina exports wheat to Europe, Mr. T. I don't doubt it. Argentina grows a lot, too. 401 says, roses for BVM. Is it possible? But life gets in the way when you miss at least one. Tina Roman says, I pray that everyone would study the history of Russia pre-Bolshevik era. It was glorious, pious, fervent, and orthodox. And look at all the great art and music they produced back in the 19th century. Look at Tchaikovsky. I'm going to list them all, and my mind slips. Who were the other great Russian composers? All the great writers, Tolstoy, Dostoevsky. And in modern times, actually, going against the Soviets, you have Alexander Solzhenitsyn. I think he could someday be proclaimed a saint. Let's see. Carolyn says Ukraine is deep state. Hunter Biden connected to them. I hope that Putin dismantles the whole thing. Ukraine is not the angel in this by any means, Carolyn. And I think you're right. I think Ukraine is part of the deep state. 401k says, I do admire Mr. Tapley praying the rosary every day. Well, it's easier for me than most. But when I first started, it was a challenge, and I practiced a couple of days saying saying the entire rosary all by myself. Now I have help. I'm very grateful that we have a regular setup, so people come in, and Peter Perrine comes in during the week, and then Adam and Nancy help out on weekends, and that's a big help. Let's see. Roman says, yes, Carolyn, that's his one last shot, and he knows it. Who's this that you're talking about now? Biden? Fake says, Amanda Grace has a Wednesday site, and you can read her stuff, Mr. T. Oh, I can read her stuff? That would be a lot better, and then I can skip through it, because she does ramble on quite a bit. Curbstomp says, I've experienced something the day my father died. I repeated the same prayer for hours, then boom. I think the rosary might have the same power. Yeah, well, Jesus praised the widow, what did he call her? See, I'm going to cut this program out. I think I'm getting hungry. The persistent widow. Remember the parable of the persistent widow? She kept going to the judge. Well, the judge finally says, I respect neither God nor man, but I will give this widow justice because by her coming and going, she's going to wear me out. A very good justification for persistent prayer. And in fact, I think that's why Jesus gave that example. And of course, he prayed the same prayer over and over again in the Garden of Eden. Joyce says, Putin said that people of the West don't like their leaders because they are neo-Nazis. Well, I don't trust Putin either. I think he's one of the 10 kings of the Antichrist. I don't trust any of them. Gus says, Mr. Tapley, you should try reading the chat through your cell phone instead of your computer screen. The chat doesn't jump out of order. Well, maybe I'll try that. If the chat is not jumping on me, it's easy to read. It's right here on the screen in front of me. I don't have to hold it up or anything. Fake says, you can call me Jules. My hubby picked the name. Jules person? Oh, okay. Joy says, then I heard on Mark Levin that Putin feels like he is fighting evil. He has a close relationship, or seems to, with the Russian Orthodox Church. Carolyn says, I'm saying all four, but I'm retired now. I could never get in four when I had kids. No, okay, well, I'm sure the Lord understands. I mean, I say pray for if you can. Let me see here. Roman says we have Marxist leaders here. No doubt about that. Romans is right. Jackie says, I pray a rosary in the morning, and another on the way to work, and another on the ride home from work. And then after dinner, my husband and I pray a fourth. Divine Mercy also. Yeah, I pray the Divine Mercy too at 3 p.m. Rosa says, sure, 401k, but I call your bluff since I proved it can be done. Sam says that would be cool for 401k to join. Well, I get a little nervous thinking about it, but 401 says, I'll think about it, Mr. Tapley. I do agree with you that praying the Holy Rosary is important. Okay, very good. You could try it like once a week or something. Start out slow, and we'll promote it out here. We'll say, tune in, 401k. He's going to pray the Rosary at such and such a time. And let's say just on Saturday night, maybe, or whatever day fits in your schedule. And then maybe you'll find out that you'll like it, and you get a lot of people following you. You might get more than the rest of us. Keith Nestor, look at the number of people he gets. He's on at 5 o'clock, I think, Central Time. So why don't you try one? And it is hard to do it on a regular basis, like every day. And for me, it's easier than most because I'm retired, as I say. And Sam, you got to give Sam credit because he does it every day, and has a full-time job, which gives him a lot of headaches, if you believe what he says. Just kidding, Sam. Roman says, trying to find more info on the Orthodox Church in Russia. Is it a state-sponsored church or authentic Orthodoxy? Well, I don't know how I would answer that. It's a whole lot better than it was under the communists. The communists turned a lot of cathedrals, Russian Orthodox cathedrals, into museums. And then they've been, since the fall of communism, they've brought them back as cathedrals. Carolyn says, Romans, I agree with you. I am not supporting America now. I think come out of her also refers to getting out of the American military. I don't think I would serve in the American military with a commander-in-chief like the one we have now. Sam tells Romans that his rosary is at 8 p.m. The phone says that is spam. I thought it might be one of you people saying that my sound is bad or something. That's what usually happens. Let's see. 401k says to Pieta, I've been visited from time to time. I'll do it again. Sam says, if you need help, just let me know. My email is, and then Sam gives his email there. 401 says, I've been visited. I don't know what you mean by that. I've been visited. You mean a spiritual experience? Sam says, no pressure. Fake person says, Amanda Grace has Wednesday site and you can read it. I guess didn't I read that? Let's see. Roman says, so many questions, but I think New World Order is scrubbing real info on Russia, so I can't Google it. No, I don't doubt that any. 401 and Pieta Rosary. Carolyn Cow says, I think it's an authentic Orthodoxy. I think so. They greatly honor the Blessed Mother, the Russian Orthodox. All you have to do is look at Google Images and type in Orthodox or Russian Orthodox icons of Mary, and you'll see page after page of them beautiful icons. I mean, in this country, the Protestant thinks you're a heretic. I told you I went to a Mennonite church. I went over there for Thanksgiving dinner. And I have a lot of respect for them because nobody was wearing a mask. If you went to a Catholic dinner, everybody would be wearing a mask. I don't know how you eat Thanksgiving dinner with a mask on, but anyway. Nobody over there was wearing a mask. So I happened to go in to look at the church part. I think I told you this. Behind the altar, or what would be the altar in a Catholic church, or actually a Protestant church, instead of a cross or a crucifix or any kind of image, they had a clock. Huge clock. Now, if that is about as far removed from spirituality as you can get. Peter Perrine says, Rachmaninoff and Prokofiev. Very good. Thanks, Peter. They slipped my mind. And also Rimsky-Korsakov. I just thought of him now. He was a great Russian composer. Oh, dear. Let me see. The chat is moving on me. Tina says, why does Argentina export to Europe? The overuse of chemical fertilizers actually kill the soil. Saw a documentary on the subject. Roma says, funny how it's difficult to find info on this subject. Just watched a brief video on anti-Bolshevik protests in Russia. They saw the persecution. Incredibly sad. You know, this is what makes me nervous. The Russian people have suffered under communism since 1917. What is that? 60, 80, 90 years? And now we've had communism for 1 year, and we think we're in hell. And it's nothing compared to what these other countries have gone through. We have a lot to pay for. Oh, Romans mentioned Modest Mussorgsky. How true. I think I mentioned Tchaikovsky, my favorite. Yeah, ballets. Oh, yeah, wonderful ballets. So the Russian culture was very developed in the 19th century, and a lot of that disappeared under the Bolsheviks. Coverstone says, I was given assurance my father was in good hands. I seen it and I felt it. Okay, this was at your father's funeral, I think you said. Okay, fake person says to Tina, we miss you at the other rosary. No, I think Tina is on at the other rosary, but she doesn't call herself Tina over there. She has a different handle. What's it called? I forgot what she's called over there. Crib says, I can't really explain it. It was possibly an angel. The power was unbelievable. Yeah, what a wonderful experience, Curb. Edmund Nancy, hey, sounds like a great plan for 401k. We will support it. Okay, there you go, 401k. You've got a lot of supporters on here. I think you'd find that if you did do a live stream rosary, start out one day a week, that would be easy. We don't want you to get discouraged, and since it's too difficult to do 5 or even 7 a week, and then you stop completely. Because I know you did try a live stream, but listen to my advice. Listen to my fatherly advice, 401. I am 82 years, almost 83. Listen to my fatherly advice, and just do one mystery. Don't try to do all 3 mysteries. And I liked your setup. You had a very attractive setup. You had all of the statues and everything around. It looked very nice. Okay, let's see. Sam says, I use a lot of automation to help me set up each night. I love it. Okay, very good, Sam. Well, we enjoy your rosaries, too. Curb says, by the way, I have seen Tapley since the CNN days. Oh, yeah, Anderson Cooper. Actually, I didn't mind Anderson Cooper nearly as bad as, what's his name, Colbert. That guy is a snake in the grass. Anderson Cooper does have a sense of humor. Okay, I'm going to let you read all the rest of it because otherwise I will be on here all day. We're over an hour. As you know, I don't like to have this program go over an hour, but I do appreciate all of your comments. They're all very interesting. And I'm glad you did show up, 401k. And we actually, I didn't even get to mention what he was suggesting about the Russian invasion. I thought he was going to do it. Well, we can do it tomorrow. If 401k shows up every time, we can talk about it tomorrow on the rosary. So don't forget, a little over half an hour from now, Sam will be doing a live stream on DLive. If you want to find how to get there, go to Piata Rosary on YouTube, and he's got a video on there, and then there's a link to it underneath that video. And then I will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Same station, and until I do see all of you again, may God bless all of you. And may all of you have a very blessed evening.